Now it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. John Sykes once said that he loves to see if he can defy conventional wisdom. Well, he's had a pretty successful career doing what others said couldn't be done. It started right here at Syracuse University. John graduated from Newhouse in 1977 with a vision that would shape the future of entertainment to combine music and television. There were no jobs like that at the time. He took a position in the music industry, kept his eyes open, and made calls, and more calls. A few years later, John was part of the team that launched a cable music channel called MTV. It turned into a cultural phenomenon. What followed is one of the most remarkable careers in the history of American entertainment. Today, John is the president of entertainment enterprises for iHeartMedia, the world's largest radio station group, and the country's top podcast publisher. He also serves as chairman of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation. Pretty cool. So please welcome our 2026 Newhouse Convocation speaker, John Sykes.
Well, I'm so glad the speaker before me was short because I heard I was a minute long. I don't want to get in trouble. Well, thank you, Dean Lodato, and the incredible Newhouse faculty and staff for the invitation today. I have to say, you timed this perfectly because I just last week paid off my student loans from 1973. Thank you. I had a great time meeting with this faculty and the students yesterday, walking the campus, looking for my old haunts. And of course, I was surprised. I went, and this is still here, Manny's. Wow. So I figured, I said, what do I do when you go to Manny's like I did 1,000 times? Bought a hat. But I don't want to get expelled, so I'm going to take the hat off and put this back on, because the dean is here. I was walking, how's it look, kind of straight? Okay, good. I also love looking through my old haunts, and I got a tour of Newhouse too. And you know you're old when the buildings that were brand new when you got to college are being renovated. and the dorm rooms for you parents here are now called suites. It's like a Ritz-Carlton. Anyway, well, the architecture here at SU has evolved over the last 5 decades, but one thing remains the same. Between the Newhouse School and Syracuse University, you guys down here have just received a college education second to none. And I can say that with confidence because 49 years ago, and I'm old, almost to the day, I was right down there in those seats, just like you guys, with my Newhouse degree, a sense of confidence, excitement, and yes, fear about the journey that was about to begin. Well, guys, SU has done their part. Now here's your chance. There's so many stories about how these graduates from this legendary school have matriculated into the real world, and just about every success story has one thing in common. It's 10% dream and 90% hard work, and I'm a living example of that. So let me share with you my journey, and hopefully it will help you with yours, because I was right there. I just am so moved today, because it just seems like yesterday, but with this gray hair, it's not yesterday, that I was right down there next to you. I came from a middle-class family in upstate New York. Helicopter parents had not been invented back then, so like most baby boomers, I was raised on television and radio, and mainly music. I was obsessed with both, especially television. For me, coming from a small town where there wasn't a lot going on, television served as a lens to a bigger world out there, a world with a million possibilities, and I was glued to it a little bit too much. And music, well, music was my escape, a perfect place to get lost in a dream. I had no connections, so as far back as I remember standing in a mirror saying to myself, how the hell am I going to get out of here? And what's my path to a bigger world? Nothing against my hometown, I loved it. I just wanted to go to a bigger place. So I worked with whatever I had. In high school, like many of you, I was the editor of my high school newspaper. My school was a new one, so it had cable TV wired into it, or coaxial cable. So I started a morning news show. I went into the homerooms, about 1,200 kids. It was dreadful, but to me, I was in show business. So much that I called the news director of a local NBC affiliate in town because I thought I was a pro in news at that point, to get a part-time job. I said I'd work for free. No response. I called him. No response. So I resorted to standing outside the TV station one day and followed him, actually chased him to his car. Bad move. I never got the job, and I think I became Schenectady, New York's first stalker. But it was a sign of things to come. So I tried a different path. I started reading everything I could to find out about the media business. And I found there was this magazine called TV Guide. And for parents up there, or maybe your grandparents, you might know, it was a publication that listed what was on TV. And in the middle, it had a story, a section about the media business. And it's there where I learned that virtually every top network executive in television came from Syracuse University, namely the Newhouse. And it was 90 minutes from my house. I was saved. Excited and elated, I went to my overworked guidance counselor at my huge high school, and he said, Newhouse, Syracuse, that's a top school. You'll never get in, and you can't afford it. Choose something else. Yet another roadblock. So I found the phone number of admissions here at Syracuse. I didn't own a suit, so I borrowed a jacket from my dad, picked up those dreadful air checks from a high school television show, and took a Greyhound bus up to Syracuse, where I spent 2 hours having a conversation with an incredible woman from admissions. And a few months later, I got my first break in life. I was admitted to the Newhouse School of Public Communications. And that day, for a middle-class kid in the middle of nowhere, changed my life forever. So fast forward to Labor Day, weekend of '73, probably the same thing you guys did 4 years ago. While the wild frat parties were raging on Comstock, I walked down Waverly and I saw this brand new building I heard about called Newhouse 2. And I found an open door by the loading dock and I saw them unloading TV cameras. I was so excited. Television cameras. I couldn't wait to get my hands on that equipment. Well, not so fast, John. A few days later at my Com 107 class, the professor asked for a show of hands of Newhouse students. I waved my hand proudly. He said, great, I'll see you in 2 years. Now first, go up on the hill there, get an arts and science classes, and learn something. The Newhouse is not a technical school. Get a balanced education, then we'll teach you how to produce a television show. And by the way, find a job. Okay. So I didn't realize it at the time, but I soon learned that that was a gift, an invitation to take advantage of every single aspect of this incredible university. So the first 4 years, I actually went to classes. I even dissected a fetal pig. Ask me any question about religion. I knew a little. I was a college rep for a record company. I worked at WAER. I worked at the Daily Orange. Anything where I could get some experience and a few dollars to go to the Orange and the Varsity. And I did events of my own. But it was there at Syracuse where I stumbled on an idea, and Mark referenced it earlier, that would change my life forever. It was right here. I was obsessed with music, but frustrated that outside of a few weekend TV shows, I couldn't see my favorite bands on television. I was assigned to write a term paper, which was by luck here at Syracuse, and I drew the Booby Prize. It was community antenna television. I had to do a 10-page term paper on something I knew nothing about. But it turns out that CATV was actually this new technology called cable TV, which offered dozens of channels to consumers, and most of them were empty. I thought, okay, why not start a music channel? That should be easy. And Newhouse had a mobile TV unit, so I sat there idle. So I would go out, and for $70 a night, you could go and rent this thing out. So I drove it around to concerts and taped them, and they put it on a new university cable system. I'm not sure if it's around anymore, called Synapse. And I said, wow, again, I'm in show business. No, I wasn't. Anyway, by 1977, my senior year, 62 million baby boomers, of which I was one of, were getting jobs and buying millions of record albums. The music business was exploding, and I was obsessed with starting this music channel. But once again, I found myself struggling. How was I going to make this a reality? I had no connections. I didn't even know what private equity was. So when I graduated, I took a job at a record company thinking, this will keep me close to music. And I said, okay, and my company was owned by CBS. So I got an opportunity to pitch the CBS network people on playing music videos at midnight when no one was watching. Music videos? What a dumb idea. Besides, nobody watches cable TV, is what they said. Oh well. One day I read in Billboard magazine that Warner Communications and American Express were partnering to launch a company to help programming for cable TV. And one was a music service. Hallelujah, finally, another chance. Don't worry, I'm not gonna kill you with the 5 other chances I had to take. But anyway, I began calling that company to share my vision, and they weren't returning my call, no response, but I kept it up, and one day they relented. I met Bob Pittman, who was the leader of programming there. He said, I don't have any jobs, but I'll talk to you. After 2 hours, he hired me. I became the 5th member of this startup that launched MTV. So I could share with you the struggle that ensued launching MTV and battling the naysayers and our path to success, but I don't have much time today, and you guys have something very exciting ahead of you. So my point in sharing my story and my journey, that in the world of communications and in life in general, while technology and consumer behavior will constantly evolve, how you succeed remains the same. And it's basically, well, it's 10% of a dream and 90% of hustle. And here's some of the lessons that I've learned from being out there in the media world that I'd like to share. First of all, most important in succeeding in music business is it's both a sprint and a marathon. If you're not ready to do both, find another career. Also, it's not just about following your dream, it's really know what you're good at. And think about this, I mean, follow your talent. We all want to be football players, we all want to be astronauts. As we get older and we went to school, we said, I'm not going to be a football player. I was in a band in high school. I wasn't very good, I'm not going to be in a band. So when you if you got to Newhouse, and I look around at every single kid here, you're good at something, because this is not a easy school to get into. So following what you're good at will dramatically increase your odds of success. I went to Syracuse with the dreams of being a newscaster. I found out soon I wasn't very good at all. In fact, I was terrible. And I found I was better at creating a business and running a business, so that's the dream I followed. I was being yelled at by this senior newscaster, so I couldn't handle it anyway. But next, become an expert on the lane you've chosen. Become obsessed. This could be if you just start out as an assistant. Read everything you can get your hands on. The biggest opportunities present themselves when emerging technologies align with consumer demand. And you got one going on right now, folks. The World Wide Web was created in the 80s, but it wasn't until people had desktops and laptops in the 90s when the creators of Google saw an opportunity to launch search. Every aspect of the media business is in a state of disruption today. You do not want to walk into an interview sounding uneducated and unprepared. So next, take any job you can get. I was speaking to some students today and yesterday. Any job, any job, no job is too low to get your foot in the door and become an entrepreneur. You're not going to be stuck doing that job forever. There's an old joke about the man who's cleaning up after the elephants in the circus. And one day his friend comes up to him and says, why don't you quit this horrible job and make some real money somewhere else? And the sweeper turns and says, what? And quit show business? So once you have that first job, once you're the guy cleaning up after the elephants, have a vision of where your career wants to go. Now, you may not know where you're going to be in 10 years, but you want to have a clear idea of where you're going to be in 3. Colin Powell had a sign over his desk in the Pentagon that read, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. And next, and vitally important, build your network. You can't achieve real success alone. Your colleagues will help you with your business and may even bring you into theirs. Stay in touch with the infamous Newhouse network. I call it the Newhouse Mafia. Oh, you will know, and you'll need to help the ones after you. They're everywhere. They're everywhere around the country with great jobs, and they will help you. My assistant right now went to Newhouse. I didn't even interview her. I hired her. So now, thank God she turned out well. Because I couldn't ever fire anybody from Newhouse. Anyway, so now you've got your vision, you got your network, you got your job. Next, as I just said a minute ago, don't stop hustling. People with high aspirations excel. Don't let social media stories of overnight successes fool you. There are no shortcuts. It took me 3.5 years of hustling just to get my foot in the door at the startup that became MTV, and another 4 before we made a profit. I enjoyed every year, all 4 years, eating spaghetti out of a thermos, but we made it. But in the last thing, and also one thing, be the first one to get in the morning, and be the last one to leave. I know it sounds like a cliche. It's a cliche. See, your parents are clapping. Because I promise you, you will be noticed. And work smarter, not just hard, work smarter. Treat the crappiest first job you get like it's the most important one in the company. If you're given a menial task, deliver on it immediately. You're building your credibility. Find talented colleagues who can learn from. Stay close to them. And lastly, while you definitely want to be a team player, make sure you have a singular talent in your company that makes you irreplaceable. So finally, understand that it's called the media business for a reason. Know how your company makes money and understand how your role eventually makes revenue. So now you've made it. Congratulations. Take a bow for 30 seconds. You've succeeded in your job. 30 seconds, because you know why? Two things are going to happen. You become a target for your competitors. Once you're on top, you're in the most vulnerable position. When MTV exploded, there were 5 startups trying to kill us. Everyone on the outside is studying your success and trying to take you out. So number 2, always be nervous. Always be looking around corners. Disrupt your own business. Otherwise, someone else will, and you might find yourself selling local real estate. And there's something equally, if not more important, that I learned at Newhouse, and that's you have a responsibility to the public. The public, remember, public communications is on our school's letterhead. The entertainment business is being disrupted, but the most challenged sector is news. Back in the days of the walled garden, called network TV, laws protecting the public were there. But those days are fading with more Gen Zs, millennials, and even Gen Xers getting their news from unregulated social media platforms. Not so much to learn new ideas, but instead only to reinforce what you already believe. So some of you will be the next leaders in news journalism. It's your calling to take on the challenge of creating platforms with new ideas that bring together and inform and help a divided society. Keep your standards high, and while you must be highly competitive, remember, with great success becomes responsibility. Make sure to give something back to the people that made you successful. Not only your community, we did it with Rock the Vote and Save the Music at VH1, but it's just not to be successful, it's the right thing to do. And also, come back to serve and even help your business, the people here at Newhouse. So to the class of 26, I have good news. You're in the right place at the right time. You've got the wind at your backs. You're the world's most creative thinkers, and I met a lot of you in the last couple of days, and I can attest to that. And you're custom built to ride the new wave of artificial intelligence and the democratized creative economy. It's exciting. Learn how to operate and thrive in this workplace using AI. Don't fear it, embrace it, own it. Most people won't lose their jobs to AI, rather they'll lose them to people who have learned how to use AI. So, in the creator economy, with so much choice, will come the need for curation. Find a way to crack the code. I promise you, it's out there. Be one of the inventors of that, and you're going to do very well. So, as you excel, remember, don't fear uncertainty. Uncertainty drives our ability to learn. Lean into unknown. The next generation of leaders never stop preparing for the future. And speaking of the future, it's yours for the taking. Enjoy the journey. Thank you.